want no drama, I don't want no hate. I'm just trying to make sure all my people straight. I'm just trying to give you everything I am.
All right, and welcome to episode 19 of the Where Were We Again podcast. You know, it's just that podcast where we sit down and have a conversation, and we don't know where it's going to end up, and we just get going and we turn around and say, hey, wait a second, where were we again? All right, now you got the name. All right, so anyways, we're doing something a little bit different this time. I'm actually really excited about this episode because it's an important topic, and I really wanted to bring light to it, and I want to shout out to Mary Nakel for bringing this to my attention. So she had mentioned some really cool people, Tommy and Krissi Green. Tommy, you may be familiar with. He actually is kind of been the front man for some pretty cool bands over the years. Sleeping Giant for one, or the most epic band currently is a Holy Name. So we're going to talk to Tommy here in a future episode, talking and focusing on Holy Name, but we're not going to do that today. We're actually going to focus on Krissi today, and this is a little bit different. I don't normally work with authors, so this will be fun. I've never talked to someone that's wrote a book, so this will be fun. But yeah, I wanted to bring Krissi on because she had written a book this year on a really important topic, and I wanted to kind of focus on that and bring light to that and have conversations, because I think it's really important that people have conversations around this topic. But yeah, so if you want to introduce yourself, Krissi and Tommy, just tell us quick about yourselves real quick, and we'll get started.
Yeah. Well, like you said, my name is Tommy Green. I'm an all-around circus of a person, and sang in different bands. Grew up kind of in the punk and hardcore scene and stuff like that. And me and Krissi Green have been married for 19 years. Coming up in February. We have 4 kids, and we are like fully parents, and we're just like run of the mill in the mix of tons of kids. So anyways, so that's what we've been doing. And we had ministry background, and then did work in business and all sorts of stuff. And about, now it would be like 9 years ago, when I was in the midst of being in that, when I was in Sleeping Giant. I had a YouTube channel that was kind of connected to the band, and that sort of opened up our introduction into this like really incredible issue. And Krissi is the real gangster of this whole thing, because it was so crazy and hard that I didn't believe it. And if it wasn't for Chris kind of staying in there, we wouldn't have gotten the honor of bearing witness and being able to tell a story. And so, so we've been doing that, and that was like probably 2015, 2016 is when kind of all this stuff happened. Yeah. So Krissi Green, who are you?
I'm Krissi Green. I wrote this book, Many More Like Me. It is my story, a memoir of the first human trafficking survivor that we worked with, and the crazy experience and our introduction to this dark world that is human trafficking. Yeah. And so, it was 2015, 2016. And we didn't know. We went through this whole experience, and then we didn't know what to do with it. And so we got it was like 2018. We were like, gosh, we got to do something. But it literally took me until 2021, 2022, maybe, till I was able to actually revisit it and relive it really, and take the time to write down my story, her story, and be able to share it. So I'm really excited to actually present, let it live its life, and see who all jumps on board and wants to be a part.
That's fantastic. So let's dig into that a little bit, right? So there's this fantastic memoir you've written, and it just tells that first story. But let's dig into that source. Let's, without giving away too much of the book, but like kind of, if you want to talk us through that story a little bit, and how you got down this whole road. I know really part of Tommy's life, it kind of was the beginning of that, but let's dig into this.
It started in my world a little bit. And like most things, like everything, I would say, what people know of me in the band world or anything, before I had a real solid faith experience, I was just not, I was a person without an anchor, and I was in deep trouble. And since being saved, is what I would say, I've been given sort of a second chance. And one of the most profound gifts that I've been given in that experience is my wife. And so nearly anything that I've done that's been successful that anyone could know from me is first and foremost a gift from Jesus. But secondly, it's only because my wife is such a boss. And so Sleeping Giant wouldn't have been able to be a thing without her. Holy Name can't be a thing without her. Nothing happens in my world without her. But this is really profound in that I have a foundation to stand on, but I had a really beautiful partner. So I'm doing Sleeping Giant the best I can. I'm trying to help people and inspire people. And I had a YouTube channel for the fan base. And I would just try to share messages of encouragement and try to help people. And it was working. I was getting messages from people that were struggling with suicide ideation or drug addiction or just personal struggles. And so I'm in that world. I'm like sort of like youth pastoring through YouTube or something, just like I'm trying to be available to be an encouragement. Not everyone that was watching or listening to the band was a Christian. They didn't really care. Some people did. And so that's where it was for me. Yeah. If you need anything, let me know. I'm happy to pray for you. Or just, it was very
this is like before the influencer world, before podcasts were like, like in everybody's nowadays is consuming so much content via these streams. But it was like,
I was really like, it just felt kind of like it was me in my kitchen. It was not like a big deal. So I'm sending these messages out to people. If you need anything, let me know how I can try to be real for you. But my mindset was like, the internet isn't real. Like, that's where I'm living. It's like, the internet is not a real place. And this is not like a real thing. And like, the scene is real. Music is real. Shows are real. The internet is not real. And so that's where I was living. And then I got this message. And the message essentially was this it was an email that was like, please help me. And I'm really in a bad way. And I don't know you really, but I need help. And for me, because I was such a real loser and a very dishonest and sort of deceptive, sneaky, manipulative, broken person, I don't do like, let's talk to girls on the internet. I just don't do that. And so I get a message from this teenage girl, and my initial response is to my assistant and to my wife, like, can you reach out to her? Because I don't want to have some sort of like private conversation with this person. And then Krissi,
even for prayer,
even for prayer is fine, but it's like, it just felt like, what is this? And are you real? This sounds like different than what I'm hearing. And so Krissi reached out to her, and it started in a very like, this kid sounds like she's in the midst of her family kind of blowing up. And that happens all the time, a 15-year-old kid and has a stable family. So they think, and then cracks start showing, and then bad stuff starts swirling, or maybe a family member gets sick. Maybe someone gets into financial difficulty. Maybe someone has an addiction issue they didn't know about. All of a sudden their family dynamic starts changing around them, and the life that they knew starts getting a little bit sketchier. It felt like that. It felt like, oh man, maybe this is like a broken home. We gotta try to be an encouragement. But I'm going to let Krissi run point on that because she's a really good mom. My oldest daughter is 24. And so I think she was about the same age at the time. And so I just felt like, Chris, why don't you talk to her a little bit and just see what this is? And so I can say now after this experience that, and even, we're doing this now. It's like the internet is very real. The internet can be as absolutely real as you need it to be. And for this got scary, real scary quick. Yeah. And, then Chris kind of stepped in and started having the conversation. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was as simple as like emailing back and forth. And then she was like, do you ever do Google Chats? And so we switched to that. And so it was just kind of, just trying to encourage and pray and I don't know, just kind of be there for her. And I didn't know really what to do as she was telling me just some of the stories. She was, things were really rough with her mom, and she was fighting with her often, and she had a good relationship with her dad. But, so I was kind of like trying to figure out like what, I don't know, like skeptically, right? Like what's the truth? What's actually happening? And then also it's like, we're dealing with like a teenager. So it's like, how much is, just like
Right.
I don't know. Like,
Dog.
like, yeah.
Dog.
It's like,
come on.
It's like, why are you yelling at me? And it's like, I don't remember raising my voice, but okay. Like it's like the interpretation kind of gets lost sometimes, but, but she was sending me, one night she sent me pictures because she said, I'm really scared because my mom is so angry at me. My dad left for work and I'm scared. I think she's going to kill me. And then she sent me some pictures of some bruising that she had around her neck because her mom tried to strangle her. So she had run to her bathroom, locked herself in the bathroom. And the assistant that we had at the time had found like some teen like hotline kind of equivalent over there. And so she had given me a couple numbers and I just thought, well, okay, if this is real, reach out. And we'll do whatever to support you, but it's like, you got to get some help. Maybe another set of eyes could help. And so she did. And I remember the voice message that she sent me she was saying, Krissi, please pray for me. They're coming for me. And I could hear sirens in the background. And it was like the weirdest. I was like, oh my gosh, like, maybe this is real, and so I didn't hear from her through the weekend. And then I got a notice from an organization that had said, hey, we picked up this young girl. She said that she had contacts in America, and we wanted to see if you would be willing to work with us because she's Christian and we're not.
Yeah.
Like we're of a different faith. And so we want to respect her wish. So if maybe we could go through some sort of approval, and I thought, like, really, my like hokey little, like we have, like Bible study, like I'll say
like this like non-denom, non-religious. They were like, I don't know how you're gonna qualify us, man.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, it's like little rough and ugly ministry that we're leading.
Yeah. We're like, we got some Bible studies.
Yeah. It's like
yeah. Cool. But they did, we gave them enough information and they said, she will not talk to us, but if you could help us, as long as you could help us get her the support that she needs, then, we could work together. We're just waiting for her dad to come. Her mom has now been put under arrest for abuse and that sort of thing. And I thought, oh, this is like, this is wild. Serious. Yeah. This got really serious. And I thought, well, her dad will come and pick her up and it'll be fine. And he did not. He just signed his rights away, basically. And so it changed really fast. And I just thought, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to this young girl, Yeah. And so, there's like, honestly, it's like living in a movie. Is how it felt at the time. It's how it feels. Like, even when you read the story, there's so many details. There's so many, like, it's like so many times that you're like, how can this even be real? Yeah. But yeah, so she ends up in full custody of the organization. And I'm just still like, what I discover in my conversations with her is that her mom had probably months at this point, acquired a boyfriend, that the boyfriend had took a liking to her. And so the mom was bringing her daughter to the boyfriend. The boyfriend was raping her. And so there was this level of sexual abuse that I was like, I could not. And so she had some infections and some things that she was struggling through, just health wise. And so I couldn't quite, that was really challenging. Like, I thought, what is, like, without trying to be like, did your mom take up drugs? Like, what is happening? Like, maybe that was part of it or whatever, like it just got so crazy. And so she was in the organization and, we were trying to figure out like, okay, can we come visit? Can we do something? Cause this all feels, I'm working with this one social worker. And this all kind of feels like, is this real?
Is it real, dude? And I was, to be honest, probably just shortly after this, I was kind of like checking out. I really was like,
because it seemed like every week something wild happened. It was like, crazy. Oh my gosh, like her dad.
It felt, and now we like really are trying to look at it through the lens of like, did we like get this had to be the we get catfish. It's like the craziest thing. And it's like, there was so much validation and like so many other people that we didn't know that ended up becoming a part of this whole thing that were affected profoundly by like the good and the bad of it, that it was like almost like it went from this thing that was just our little world to, because we got other people involved, it was like this affected everybody. And so it was so wild to like get roped up in this sort of drama.
Yeah, because we were like, okay, we're working with this organization that is going to keep this girl safe. And then it was like, she was, it was almost Christmas. It was like this time of year. And one night she messages me and she says, hey, Krissi, she went through a trial. She had to go through a trial with the mom's boyfriend and all that stuff. And it was awful. And on the trial, she was messaging me from the social worker's phone, because they were in like downtown Paris, I think, in the.
It's actually, this is a funny side note. It's a funny side note. And then by all means ask a question or interrupt us at any time.
Sure.
Yeah. So what's funny is, so because of the abuse that was happening in her home, she was in this like third party organization, and a lot of crazy stuff had happened where she effectively was orphaned. And so she's orphaned and she's in the custody of this like, youth home. And then charges are brought against that boyfriend and her mom and whatever. So there's a court case. Well, what's interesting is I had a friend that was in another band. His name is Joel, and he used to sing for a worship band called Ascend the Hill. Did you ever hear Ascend?
I think
the
so,
Hill?
Yeah.
Okay. So Joel was in Paris hanging out, and there was also a band called the Eagles of Death Metal. And the Eagles of Death Metal had a show in Paris, and there was a bombing at the Eagles of Death Metal show. Joel is there. I remember him being stuck in Paris after that happened for extra days because it was such a chaotic thing. But I also remember that because the court was right in that same vicinity,
she had to move hotels.
So she's texting Chris like, yo, something happened. We have to move hotels. So that's like,
everything's locked down. Like,
so that's what I remember. Whenever I think of that time, I'm like, she was in court giving deposition against this horrible dude that had hurt her. And her mom, unfortunately, when the Eagles of Death Metal bombing thing happened, and then she had to move. Okay, so there was always these like, that's my bookmarks of like, so there was stuff going on that I was grateful that justice was being served, and I really hated what was happening to her. And it was just chaos enough that I just didn't have full capacity for it. So I'm already starting to like numb out to her pain a little and just whatever. And Krissi,
we discovered then during that trial that her dad was terminally ill.
That's why he signed his rights away.
Yeah,
like
but she didn't know.
He wasn't going to make it.
And the organization had chosen to withhold that information. And so it was deeply troubling.
It was wild because she's waiting for dad to come get her and dad's not coming. And she couldn't understand why. It didn't come out until the trial, which is like a month later. So then dad shows up sick with cancer and basically said, I'd rather, because at this point, because she's getting like, she's disowned by her mom's side of the family and dad has signed his rights away. We're like, why doesn't anyone want this kid? We will take her. Just send her to us, dude. We're happy to adopt this kid. Like, this is crazy. And that was like a thing. So we're kind of falling in love with this kid, but at the same time kind of going like, what is going on with these crazy people that are being so stupid? Like, they're not listening to us. Tell her the truth. And they like wouldn't. And then they get to court and dad basically walks in and goes, I'm dying. And I don't want her going with these other people. I'd rather her go with this. I think the words were like, I'd rather she go with this American family than back with these other people. And so there was this whole thing that began happening with us where we're trying to like open up our hearts, but like, this is such a weird situation. Yeah. And so anyway, so yeah.
I know it was, because we were supposed to like Skype with him right after that. And I mean, it progressed so rapidly. And I thought like, I can't believe how fast, like it seemed like so surreal. And then it's like, I was just reminded because we had a good friend of ours, his sister was like, she had this type of cancer and it progressed so quickly. It was like not even 2 weeks from the time, and I was like, I feel like I've been like, it's like this, okay, this reminds me because I thought, is this, how does that happen? Like you can't, like nothing, but, So that was wild, because after that, she had messaged me and she said, my mom, her mom had found out where she was. Her mom comes from money and was able to, she had a number of different resources than her boyfriend did. I think her boyfriend got 24 years or something.
Oh, wow.
Which I was like, oh, thank God. That's
yeah.
That was that was rough. It was a rough deposition.
Yeah.
For her, for sure. And so, so the mom shows up, she texts me or messages me and says, Krissi, it's so weird. My mom's here. She's with somebody that says she's a lawyer. He's a lawyer, and that I have to go with them for a 2-week, Christmas trip. And I was like, okay, hold up. Like, nope, whatever you do, don't go there. Don't hold on. Just don't listen to her, because something's not right. I'm telling you. And so I get on the caseworker that I was in contact with. I also, I separately message with her, and she's on holiday, because everybody was skeleton crew. And I said, hey, she's saying something's up, because she's saying her mom's there and they're trying to negotiate, whatever. And so she gets on, she says, no, that's not right. She has no right to be on the premise. And so I get, I'm going back and forth between the two chats, and I'm just like, okay, Claire, whatever you do, don't go with your mom. It doesn't matter. Let her scream, let her yell, let her make a scene. You get yourself as far away from from her as possible. And so she went into her room, shut herself in her room, was messaging me. And I was like, whatever you do, stay with me. And then her line went dead and she disappeared. And the caseworker got back on and said, I'm sorry to tell you that some of the workers saw that there's multiple men waiting for her in a car just outside. And that wasn't a lawyer. That was another, it was just all imposter. Dude. Yeah. And so she said, I'm coming back right now. The police have been contacted. We're going on a search. And so she said, if you hear anything from her, please let me know. And I didn't until the caseworker messaged me, and they located her a couple days later in a bar in downtown Paris, I think it was. And so they set her and I think 13 other girls, they shut the bar down. And what we learned later, which we know now in this kind of human trafficking world, is that you can go in and, it's do a bust, right? And you liberate and all these women and, primarily, I say women because that's primarily what it is, women and children. But, and so then they go and they're closed down for 24 hours, and then they come back and they open back up and they go back to business, and they, maybe get a fine or whatever. But she was taken to the hospital and drugged. Yeah. And so she told me the story later about her mom making an exchange for her. And it had something to do with the previous boyfriend and now a new boyfriend and, all that stuff. And so.
Hey, bananas. Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. And
what do you think?
Yeah.
I absolutely just, I mean, and that's just, don't even have words to really put to that. I could see how it'd be easy to just kind of okay, to go numb to just okay. Yeah. Because it seems like every time you turn around, something just absolutely ridiculous is happening that there's no way this is happening. Because I could totally understand at the beginning, you're just no, this is just some teen that's just upset and trying to make some big deal about something and whatever. Yeah. But it's it just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
It's good Lord.
Dude, well, how about this? When she was in that hospital before she went to her court thing, there was an issue where she was affected by some of the sexual abuse that had happened. And no joke, had was horribly sick in the hospital. We're praying for her, sending videos of us praying with our Bible study. Her and the staff are the staff think you guys are crazy, but they think you're funny, and that's funny.
Real entertained.
Yeah, you're very entertained by it. She's sending me videos of her there and random stuff, but it's very she's sick, and then she went to the doctor, and there was a legit medical miracle that happened. So we have this dude, she's okay. And then she goes to court and it's now we get it. Your dad was struggling, bro, come to us. Come on, get out of there.
Yeah.
And then within just a few weeks of this court decision.
Her dad dies.
Her dad dies. And then it's like her mom shows up, and then it just goes to a totally different level. So it was like so weird to feel like we've got hope and we're fighting for this person. And like, if she needs us, we're going to be there. And then it went to like bizarro land.
Yeah. Cause
like,
I think at that first part, it's like, okay, this is a story that makes sense to us, right?
Yeah.
It's
like
that's a child taken out of an abusive home goes into some sort of foster care or something, right? Like a care center, or like, to take it out of that immediate thing. And then it crossed into this other realm that we'd only heard about in some stories, where it's like, wait a second, like they, she's like now was abused, like had multiple men over the short period of time that she was there. And so it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is only the stuff that, taken and
I mean, really?
Right. Especially then it wasn't as, now I feel like more and more it's being talked about, but, and so it was like, I mean, it gets wild, it gets more wild, right? Because she ends up, she ends up pregnant from this situation. The organization freaks out because they try to cover all the tracks. We're fighting with them. She's fighting with them because they're trying to change her story. And then she has ectopic pregnancy.
Yeah.
And they waited too long. So she had to go into emergency surgery, and she didn't wake up. She went into a coma. And so we were fighting with them because they were like, we're not going to let you have anything to do with her, right? Because we were like, hey.
Because I lost my crap. Basically, this is where Tommy is off the picture, because like she gets assaulted multiple times. The pictures of her in the back of the like cop car, she's like a 15, 16-year-old kid. She's got like a halter top on and like a super short skirt. And she is just like numbed out. She's drugged out in the back seat of this car. They take her from this bar. She gets pregnant because she was assaulted multiple times in like the day and a half that she was there. She gets pregnant from it. And then this organization is trying to like be political about it. So they're just doing dumb. And I'm like, hey, you guys are fully culpable. We sent her to you so that she could be safe, and you let her get kidnapped and raped. I want all of your jobs. I want your family's jobs. I want you. Like I was just like, ah! And Krissi,
because what do you do from?
You just freak out. I feel like
yeah.
It's like, yo, you guys blew it, and they don't want to blow it because they got bills to pay, and it's a big. So they stopped talking to me. Krissi is, of course, beautiful and kind. So she's like, what Tommy is trying to say is that, like whatever. And I'm like,
I think
and she's like, no, like, and so they kind of, the counselor kind of kept talking to Chris.
Because at this point,
they stopped
it was
talking
like,
to me.
it doesn't matter. You like whether or not we adopt her, whether or not like all this stuff, we're committed to be in her life. For however that looks, for as long as she wants us there, we are going to be there. So like she doesn't need permission from you to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Because
let me say this too. Sorry, this is funny. After the medical miracle thing happened, this is cool. Like she went into surgery for like a problem that was going on, and we prayed, and they're like, there's a problem. It's on your left side. We're going to go in and do surgery. Problem, left side. Messaged us that morning. She's going into surgery for the problem on her left side. It'll probably take about 5 or 6 hours. You won't hear from her until blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Take her to the emergency room, open her up. It's gone. It's not there.
Oh, jeez.
So
yeah. Okay.
they're like freaking out. So they freak out
and they go like, did we open the wrong side? They pull up
the extra like, no, this is supposed to be here. Yeah. So then they freak out. We are celebrating, and they say, you can't talk to that American couple anymore. They're obviously in a cult.
Leaders.
Krissi says, fine, we don't have to talk to her anymore. We're just going to adopt her. And that's when I was like, whoa, like, whoa. So that's where it went from like, we're trying to help this kid to this kid just experienced a miracle. She's got nothing else going on. Like we care for her. Mm-hmm. And now this is like this weird deal. And then this trafficking thing happens after. So like we experience these super high highs trying to defend this kid. Mm-hmm. Our hearts open up to her at that point. And then this horrible thing happens. Well, then she gets back in the organization. Now she's a pregnant teenager. Like there's no way we can adopt a pregnant like we don't know how to do that.
Well,
so then it all kind of like stopped. And then I'm freaking out on them. So then it like really stopped. And then she didn't wake up.
She didn't wake up
for weeks.
Yeah.
How long?
Yeah, because it was like I think, and I mean, all of this is
it's all in the book. It's all in the book, bro.
Yeah.
You read the book, dog. Andrew, you don't read the book. Okay, I don't know how to tell you this.
One of the key parts is our beautiful friend down in Colombia.
Yes.
That we had connected. We brought her in because early on they said, hey, we like to, all of our girls go on missions trips. And so we all do this particular religion. And so do you have a Christian one? We will do the same. We'll vet them and do this stuff. So we connected her with this family that has an orphanage. I think it's I don't know if that's a right politically correct term. I don't,
it seems valid to me. I don't know if it's changed by now.
I know that it's like so much more because their family does such beautiful work. And sometimes it's like some of the women and children stay with them and they house them long term. Others they use for like daycare and they help, get them back on their feet. So it's like, it's a beautiful ministry that they do. And, and then they're very reputable in Bogota, it's like, it's really cool. So she was brought in in the conversations and so Claire was supposed to take a trip down there at the beginning of the year, but she didn't wake up from the surgery. And so she missed her flight and everything. And so at that point, she was like, they were terrified that she was going to die. Mm. And so they had asked us, would you be able to come over? Do you have anybody here that would be willing to come and pray like you prayed for her the last time she had surgery? Mm. And so we are like, scrambling because they're like, time is of the essence. The doctors keep saying time is of the essence. And so we're like scrambling. We contact our friends in the UK. And,
we were leading a ministry and we had like small churches, a couple small church groups in the UK. So we like called them. We're like, hey, can you guys get to France?
And they're like grown men, like they're like, okay, but are we going to get trafficked? Because like, we're like a little uncertain, they're like, okay, we'll go together, as long as they will, they'll approve us. And then they said, you won't we're not going to approve you. And so, like the higher ups of the organization said, we don't want any more people. And then she literally just woke up out of nowhere. I mean, we had so many times where we were singing songs over her and sending, and they said, the hospital staff, the social worker would say like, could you do another video or could you do something? Because whenever we play your voice, all of her vitals respond. And the nurses want to continue playing it because they believe it's going to help her. And so it was like, that's so easy. That's the easiest thing I can do, Yeah. And so she literally just woke up out of the blue one day, felt like she had slept for 2 days. And it was like, what in the world?
It had been weeks. Yeah. And it's like, no, she just felt like, hi, I'm up.
And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, we're back. We're, no need for, false alarm, no need for the moves, no need for the teen pregnancy center. Like, like it was just like I was all, okay, but we were all present for that wild situation. And I thought like, and our friends from the UK said, oh, Krissi, like there's something up because the social worker, if this was happening, this has got to be a ploy. And then literally I was like, you're right. Like, I'm at the point though where I feel like if I don't believe her being Claire, this young girl, I don't know if anybody else does.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
Everyone's getting exhausted in her life, including me. Like our friends are like, they don't want to hear about it. It's like, it's so much at this point that like everyone is tuning out.
Yeah.
And I'm tuning out. Our friends that like kind of chickened out, they're tuning out. Everyone's tuning out. And then Krissi's like, if this is fake, and we just get laughed at.
Yeah, if I'm the butt of somebody else's joke.
We can deal with that.
Yeah, like that's fine. I haven't sent any money. I haven't whatever. But if I just dismiss her, I risk get to the end of my life and find out this was a real person with a real story. It was going to plague me my whole life. I just have to show up the best way I know how. And then I got off that call and the caseworker notified me she'd been terminated. All the things that my friends in the UK said she's violating, she should be this, all of that stuff happened. And I was like, oh my, so then, so I'm back in it,
Yeah, right.
And and so then we get contacted by a male person of the organization, head of the organization, says, I've taken over. There's talks of this adoption, and I'd like to know if you're still interested. And I just need, this information, like whatever. And it was on letterhead and everything. I was like, this is the most information they've ever given us. And at the same time, I was like, there's something wrong, because I feel immensely uncomfortable that they put a man over a case like this, And so I was like, it wasn't very long that I was like, hey, can you tell me, like, are you ever alone with this guy? Are you like, does he ever I just was like, so this is weird, and anyways, it didn't take very long. Our friend from Colombia called us and said, hey, I had a Skype conversation with the new head of this organization. And I get a really weird feeling about him. So I'm like, okay, that's it. I reach out to the old caseworker, and I said, hey, I wanted to ask you about this, whatever. And she says, I trained a woman to take my place. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, here we go. Yeah. And sure enough, this was like, this was January, February. And then by May, we had gotten our friend from Colombia contacted somebody in the south of France that she had met, years ago, and said, hey, we've got this situation. And they said, I think that this girl's in danger. And so she said, is she at risk of disease or pregnancy? And I said, I think she already has a disease. I think she has fevers and infections of some sort. And this man is abusing her repeatedly. Jeez. And so I started documenting. I would ask very poignant questions, and got to screenshotted everything, started sending it over. I'd send it to my friend in Colombia. She'd send it to,
dude, it was like James Bond. It was wild. So our homie in Colombia, because they would be trusted to do the trip, we initially wanted Claire to be able to take a trip to Colombia with people we knew. And then we were going to go to Colombia so we could actually get time with her. And then when everything went crazy, our Colombian friend said, I know a lady in France that's a ministry kind of lady that has safe homes. Mm-hmm. Let me call them and see if they can do anything. Then they say, they're telling Colombia, is she at risk of whatever? Colombia is telling Krissi, well, is she in trouble? Krissi is screenshotting all these conversations with France, sending them to Colombia to send them to the group in France that we've never met. And then we get a message that night that's like, you tell her if that dude comes in and does anything with her again, don't shower because we need evidence. We'll be there at 5 a.m.
We'll be there.
It was like, wow. It was like, boom. All of a sudden it was like some other people are going to get involved. They
went to the authorities, and they got, the report that we got was, they had shown the local authorities that were pulled in because they were going to, they show up in the middle of the night, and they go like, okay, this is what we're working with. And they said, well, should we wait for a warrant? Just some, going back and forth. And one of the officers says, if there's any chance of that happening, we're going in. I don't care. And they went in, they lined everybody up, and he had just finished with her, and they had enough evidence to arrest him on the spot. They ended up closing down the orphanage, or the safe house, that one, the all female one, the all male one that was associated with it. And they got Claire out, and she was court ordered, to be part of this other program. Yeah. And for the first time, it was like, oh my gosh, and it felt like, oh, we know this, our friend in Colombia, we know, Tommy's spent time with her, she actually exists. Okay. Yeah. And she knows that this person in the south of France actually exists because they also spent time, and then that's who's writing us, that's saying I'm with her. We take these cases so seriously that when we got there, I think we sat for almost 2 hours and just cried and let her cry. And she's in such bad shape, physically, but how can we say it? She's beautiful in the eyes. It's like she hasn't lost her light. And so it was so awesome. We went through the caseworker that we were working with. Oh man, she changed stories. She went after us pretty hard. She went after all of the
everybody that was involved. This caseworker that we initially worked with, when she lost her job and the organization got shut down, she went on a rampage. And that's where it's like, the internet thing not being real is whatever. All the other people that were involved, the girl in France got her life ruined by this person. The authorities in Colombia were notified by authorities in France somehow and showed up at the orphanage and did an investigation.
Yeah.
The Attorney General's office here in Utah had to issue a cease and desist against her. So like, even if the story about the kid was fake, which it's not, all the damage that was done because of the craziness, that's very real. So it's like, yo, the enemies aren't acting like this is fake at all. So something really happened, but it's like, that's some of the only logic I can take because it was so crazy. This was all in the span of a year. This is like 2015 to 2016. It was bananas.
It's
like
May 2016. And right in the middle of May. And then
we have pictures of us on the fridge. I was conducting a friend's wedding.
Yeah.
As we're driving up the mountain here in Utah to go to this wedding that I'm supposed to perform, Krissi is madly taking snapshots of the conversations. And that's when she told the girl, if anything happens tonight, don't shower, don't change because they need evidence. I can't say anything else. And then the girl said, oh my God, is someone coming for me? Am I going to be safe? And Krissi just said, delete everything. And then that was it. So then we do this wedding. Yay. And in the background, we're like, oh my God. And then we went to bed that night. We woke up in the morning. I wake up in the morning. Krissi's sitting at the end of our bed, just crying, reading the note that like they got her and she's okay. But it was horrible. And so we're like, oh my God. And that was May 2016. And we have the snapshot from like the little photo booth in the wedding. We're wearing like funny hats together and stuff. It's like, that's the night that they got her. And so and then within a few months, it was just a very tragic story. And so it's weird that all happened within a year. And then like it was crazy. Yeah. It was crazy.
She was doing well, like in recovery wise and responding. A wonderful family took her in. And we had to go through, like, we were getting investigated in a number of different ways and that sort of thing. But, and it was like the everything was on pause. Like, we know that you want to adopt her, but, she needs to be part of this program for 1 year. And then we can, go from there. And so I was like, I don't care as long as she's safe and hidden and like actually healing. And then it was a couple months later, June, July, that they found some bad cells. She said bad cells because she just had this infection and it wouldn't go away. And then it was like, maybe it's this thing, but it was all connected to like UTI and that sort of thing. And so they found some cancer cells. They immediately started some chemotherapy and that sort of thing. And then she passed away in August. And at that point I was using Google Translate and communicating primarily with the hospital staff on the days that she was too weak to communicate. And then it was like, I couldn't believe it because it felt like, I don't understand. I thought for sure that she would be healed again.
Yeah. We like saw it. We like saw the miracle. Like, and then, it was
so
wild.
It was like, I just couldn't, it's like, well, how, and we didn't know what to do. We had our gathering, our leaders gathering that we host every year. And I sat on the stage and told her story and cried. I mean, just cried my whole way through because it was like, okay, this is like our leaders, our family. And I wanted to share because so many of them had known bits and pieces. And so that was in October of 2018 and then 2016, I guess. And then we went into 2017. We were getting still harassed by the former caseworker.
I'd go to share it like a church. I share at a church here in Utah. And if someone was Facebook living it, she would jump in. If she saw me anywhere, she would like start going after us again. So it was wild. Like it was really, really interesting. That's part of what the delay was. It felt like we weren't safe to like share and we were being contested. Like we still had this person that was so culpable, but she was lying on everyone and like freaking out. And so it was very like, what is this world? Like these people are like unashamed.
I had like kept all the documents and everything. And I sent them over to Colombia to submitted like, these are the conversations that I'm having, and then when I connected with the gal in the south of France, cause she just got the worst of it. I couldn't believe that this woman that I had worked with, that I thought we were all like in the same, I don't know. It was like so bizarre that she had impostered and she changed stories, and which I knew that was possible, because when Claire got pregnant, they were trying to change her story, and they're trying to have her sign it and she wouldn't sign it. And, it was like, they were really frustrated, but even the way that she talks about her, is like, so I was like, this is nothing like what you used to say. And when I talked to the gal in France, she said, Krissi, she has all of these supposed conversations that she's had with you. It's like she's fabricated this entire different thing, and she's accused you guys of trying to kidnap her, and just such bizarre things that it was like, what in the world? And so it's like we just kind of sat with them. We're like, what? I don't know why. Like, why would we even go through this if this is like the greatest catfishing story forever? But we're like, what do we even do with it? Like, what happens from here?
What was our
and I guess
win? How did we win? What did we
just
do?
Like,
right.
Okay, and then it was March of 2017. And I get an email that was like, hi, I don't know if this works, but more than a year ago, I was rescued from a bar. And Claire gave me this email and said if I ever needed anything to contact her mom.
Wow.
Can you?
And I'm like, don't answer it. Don't you answer. It's the bad guys. Don't talk to them. We are away from them. Don't say nothing.
Yeah, I was like, so I didn't know. I was like kind of treading, because I was like, oh, is this the caseworker pretending? I just wasn't sure. And so I started a conversation with this young girl, and I said, can you tell me about the time? And she told me the flip side of the story about how she came, then like what happened. And then she said, but she was always telling these Bible stories.
When Claire got there, she's like, she said, I'm not a Christian, but when Claire got here, I was all the times hearing Bible stories from her. And then in the email that she sent, it said, and she would go room by room and pray for the other girls that were there.
Wow.
I know.
And I was like, this kid is a gangster. Are we serious?
Yeah, like,
so that was our second,
yeah.
that was our second survivor. Mm-hmm. And we tried to help her as well. And this was a much more real, messy, crazy story, because you're dealing with fractured souls, fractured minds, people that have been manipulated beyond all measure, right? Force, fraud, coercion. These are really brokenhearted people, and they've been through a lot. And so unfortunately, we got her out of a situation. She was pregnant. Her kids got adopted by a family. She was in rehab. She fell in love with a guy in rehab. We told her, don't fall in love at rehab. And then she bailed on rehab. And then months later called us, I'm pregnant again. Like it was very much just a normal broken human story.
So I worked with her from like that 2017 all the way through the pandemic in 2020. And when stuff started like shutting down, like all that stuff, because she said she at that point had a little boy that she had in the bar that she lived. He was about a year old, and she was pregnant with a little girl. And she said, Krissi, if you want to come get these babies, will you come get them? And I said, let me find a way, and then it was like March, everything shuts down. Nobody's flying anywhere. And then she lets me know they came and they took them away. And then kind of in the summertime, she said, I have to close this account. I'm like, she just went silent. And so, so that was like
that. So in the meantime, as that's happening, 2016, towards the end of 2016, when Claire passed, before she did, she was the one that said, we said to her, she's really sick. And it was just like, dude, I said,
final message to her.
Yeah. Well, I just told her, I was like, you've done more to shed light and bring justice and set people free in like 15 years than some people will in their whole life. It's like she helped expose and got 13 girls out of a bar, even if they went right back. And then because of what she went through and because of us working with her, you got a whole manipulative organization shut down staff and kids are getting abused and neglected in that system.
Yeah.
It's like, she's a freedom fighter. And I said, you did more in 16 years than some people will their whole life. And if you just need to go, we understand. And she said, I know that I have a family and I know that I was loved. And she said, Tommy, you have to keep sharing. There's many more like me. And I was just like numb at that point. I'm like, man, what do I do? And then, we lose her. She goes. And so it took me a long time. Like I was like, that's 2016. I think I started jogging in 2017, maybe like spring of 2017, started running again. And on that run, I was like, I got to do something. I hadn't thought about her for a little while. I was just like, what do we do with that? And then I thought, she asked me to share, but it's not my story to tell. I didn't believe her. I didn't earn that. Krissi did. Krissi was like her mom. Krissi was the one that kept her heart open when I was like, I don't believe it. And she's like, I can't turn my back on this one. And I'm like, all right. So I said, I will do something stupid to get attention. And then will you please tell the story? And so I resolved in 2017 that I would run.
2018, I guess.
I'd run from the top of Utah to the bottom physically to get attention. And then Krissi could tell the story. And so I took a year in 2017 to get ready. And basically in October of 2018, did the first like run against traffic. And I ran from the top of Utah to the bottom.
Wow.
And it took just over 2 weeks. It was 30 miles a day for like 2 weeks. And it was really cool. A bunch of people watched it. It was it was just trying to get attention, but we were still getting so messed up
of Run Against Traffic.
Yeah. No, but we were still getting so messed up by this counselor that Krissi wasn't really free to like even share. So I did this thing. We start Run Against Traffic. We go through all sorts of stuff. The world goes through all sorts of stuff. And then as we're army crawling out of this horrible season, it's like kind of Krissi turned a corner and was like, I'm going to tell this story now. And so Many More Like Me, the book, that's like how this all sort of started for us. Is we realized that when we got through this, you can like rescue, like that's one of those buzzwords that people use in this space. You can try to like rescue them, but if you can't help put them back together again, like 90% of people are going back. It's just going to happen. And so the thing that we realized is there's a lot of people that are saying they want to do the like recovery work and rescue work. And that sounds real sleek and sexy or whatever, but like the long-term, gross, hard, expensive work of putting broken lives back together, that is the thing that we really need. And so we don't want to do it, but how, like, we don't have the capacity to do it, but how can we help the people that are ready? They need resource, they need money, and so it's like, we can fundraise and then we'll try to find the best people that we can to get that money too. And so that was kind of what Run Against Traffic is.
The second girl hit us up. I felt like, oh my gosh, like how am I in the exact same situation? I have nowhere to go. Where can I call? I'm not sending her to those resources, it was just, and then to find, like, especially, in America and like in all these places, is that there's a huge gap between the actual, like, what happens to shut down. Like in the second girl, I mean, she like had a second grade, maybe third grade education. She grew up in the foster system.
She grew up kind of in that same world. She grew up in the same world that Claire found herself in. And it's almost like that world is kind of a feeder system for traffickers. Like it's like kind of
foster system. Like
it's just weird, man. It was very, very strange. Very strange.
Then it was like, okay, who's doing the work? Because for me to work with this girl and to go like, that there's other options, like, and you have greater value than just this particular work. And for her to like, it was like the first time anybody had told her that. And so it's like, oh my gosh, there's this huge gap. How do we actually fill the gap? And so that's the heart and mission of Run Against Traffic, is that we could connect people like me, right? Like I'm like, so many times I'm like, I'm just a mom on my little keyboard, like in my phone, like having these conversations. Like I got these little kids, my kids were little at the time, like, and I was, by the time she passed away, I was 6 months pregnant with our youngest, and so it's like, I'm just trying to show up the best I can. And at the same time, I'm don't want to put my family at risk, even
Right.
though I would love to ruin some of these people's livelihoods, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do I do that? And can we create enough buffer where it's like, we meet these amazing people that go in, they love the hunt. They go in, they make a really bad day for these bar owners and these like places. But then it's like, then there's these other beautiful souls that are like, okay, we're creating the safe houses and we're doing this restoration, and how do we do equine therapy and, you know, teach them how to garden and do job training and, you know, and like all these different aspects of what it takes to actually rehabilitate and restore fractured humans. And so it's like, how do we find the people that are actually going to do the best? Because we've also been with the ones that, you know, turn into be the abusers, and how do we vet them? But the biggest piece is them needing money and giving people.
That's real. It's real.
Yeah. And people
like the
learning
biggest gap
about
sometimes is like, you just need money. Some of you guys just need resource. That sucks. Like, because it's like everyone wants to feel it. It's like, no, man, like for real, just write a check to these people. I swear. Like they just like,
you hear the story and encounter and you go like, it's such a huge problem. I don't even know where to start. How would I be a part of this and a part of the solution? And you know, and so it's like, and that's where we started. We thought it was going to be just running events. Like, let's do running events, because that's what we were doing all the time. And you know, like all that stuff. And then we realized that it's way more, because we have people that are like, I'm not a runner, but I do tattoos. Can I do this like event and give proceeds? I have this, like, I love to, you know, we've done where it's like, I'm going to host this cocktail night at this bar and all this, you know, like, and it's kind of like, find what is your passion and then do it with a purpose and help us fight what you hate while you're doing what you love. And that's where we have kind of landed for Run Against Traffic. Trying to build it, trying to do
like,
good.
Do what you're going to do anyway and do it for charity. And let's figure out a way to help raise awareness and funds, because it's a long-term problem. Like, that's the point, is like, I didn't do one marathon. I ran across a whole state, and it took a long time, because like, that's the model. It's like, it's going to be a long time. Like, this is going to take a while to fix, but we can fix it. And a lot of times we can help the people that need help. You know, the ones that are getting help, we can help them. I don't know how to do all the big, like, grandiose stuff, but we can actually make a difference, and that's cool. That's good to know. So
yeah, I mean, I tell you what, like, that is a roller coaster in of itself. Like, I mean, there was like, I mean, if you don't talk about, that's probably one of the craziest roller coaster rides I've ever been on. But no, I mean, really, that's just an amazing story, and it just really it really tells the truth of, like, sometimes the smallest little thing can really have the biggest impact. And that's something I hear. I there's stories like that come through so much in these episodes and stuff, but that's probably one of the biggest, of just like one little message in 2015 is really shaking everything.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy just looking at that small moment and then actually just taking it seriously for just a second.
Yeah, that's it, right? How many of those do we get, and we just we're not ready for it, or we don't treat it like it's real? Again, that's what I'm trying to say. Is like, I'm trying to be as kind as I can. I'm thinking it's just like everything else. Oh, I'm so sorry your family's having a hard time. I will pray for you. I don't even know if this is real. And then, dude, this, like you said, dude, this has totally changed our life forever. It's absolutely changed our life. Yeah. And that's a real point. That's good. That's really good, Andrew.
Oh yeah, no, that's something. I mean, it's something I always like to just really highlight, because it's something I've learned over the years. Is like, those small moments are the ones that really shake everything, and so you have to watch for those small moments. Yeah, you know, it's that whole, like, the idea of the still small voice, and, you know, that still quietness is where you hear the biggest message. It's not loud. It's not loud. Yeah. But if you're listening, it's going to change everything, right? And so I always try to really highlight those moments, and I love this story because there were so many of those.
Yeah, dude, I guess it's a life. It's a whole life. So maybe that's something to think about, is like, if people hear just this even episode, this is what happens in your life. And sometimes there's amazing highs, and sometimes there's amazing disappointments. And right on the back of a really cool situation, you can experience either a success or a tragedy. And that is life. This is life. This is what a real life looks like. and there's beautiful, beautiful things. And ultimately, the thing that's going to outlast all of it is the love that we shared. It's not the injustice. It's the love that we shared that's actually gonna last. And whatever we can create with this in terms of spreading something beautiful, that's what's going to change the world. It's not all the pain and the injustice of it. It's causing all of that stuff to work for love. And so I like what you're saying a lot. That's really good, cool. Man. That's cool.
Yeah. And honestly, just listening to that story, I got hit with a couple of different things, right? So it hit me with the idea of the small moment, but then I think about it and I'm like, there was other moments, right? We've got these amazing highs of like, look at all of us sitting here together praying over this, and the impossible happens.
Dude,
and I want to point this out. It happened twice, right? And I don't think you highlighted this enough, so I want to point it out, right? Because we had the one thing. Oh, this thing on the left side just disappears. That's the like mind blowing impossibility. Like, what the heck? Yeah. But then how about waking up from a coma like nothing happened?
Yeah.
Right.
That's true,
that
bro.
is just as big as something disappearing. And a lot of people are going to overlook that because, well, people wake up from coma.
Dude, I have until you just said it. I literally have until you just said it. It's very good. I've never thought about that as like another miracle. I just thought like, that's what's supposed to happen.
That's what's supposed to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but literally for somebody to wake up from a coma for weeks.
Yeah.
Yo.
And then just.
Yeah.
I'm fine. Like. Insane, right? So there's your highs, right? So and the amount of like life change and testimony and things that can impact is incredible, right? Because like the whole thing disappearing on the left side, like how many people in that hospital got like just knocked on their butts from that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's another layer to that, right? That's all the good things and how many lives changed from that. And then there's the tragedies.
Yeah.
Because she's in the lowest of lows, and you're telling the story about how she's going in all these different rooms and telling these and just telling Bible stories.
Yeah.
And praying over everybody. And you have like proof that made a huge difference because somebody messaged you from that.
It's true.
Right? The lowest moments of her story and the highest moments of her story tell an impact, right? And
it's cool.
Huge life change. And then there's another layer. Because through this whole story, now you've got the story of the stalking going on. Right?
Yeah.
The crazy lady, it's like when you're doing the right thing is when you're going to be the most under attack.
Yeah.
So I think that is just another thing. Like, look, even when everybody's coming against you, you still have to keep fighting for doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And fighting for that truth. Because now you guys have made connections in all these different areas.
Yeah.
And got to build even deeper relationships with these people. Then, right? Gosh. You guys start come a year later, like, hold on. We've got to do something. And then you've grown out from that. Like, just the layers.
Yeah.
The layers here is just absolutely, absolutely insane. So when I say it was like a roller coaster, like, yeah, her story was a roller coaster. But the overall picture was just one of the craziest stories. I mean, that's absolutely insane, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we're living it.
Yeah.
And when we go back, like, I'm still like, I cannot. Like, that was a real thing. This is crazy. Like, that was our life. And and to be honest with you, like, I didn't go back to that YouTube channel. Like, there was a long time where I was just like, I'm not going to be posting online asking anybody for anything for a long time, because the last time I did this, like, everything crazy popped off. And so I remember feeling that, like, through to that. It wasn't until we got back to, like, kind of the COVID time where I was like, I'm going to try to just be out there again. But it was like, because I could tell people were really struggling.
Yeah.
In
2020 especially, I was like, man, we got to do something, because I could just feel people are like starving for encouragement, and there's so much. But like, I was terrified of like, what if it all happens again because I put myself out there again? Oh my God. So yeah, it's true, man. It's like, that was real. Like, that was real.
And that's always the scary thought about it, right? It's like, like our minds are like, man, so many good things and so many bad things happen in that. I don't know if I can do it again.
Yeah.
But then yet, like, no, I'm
we
called
gotta
to do it. I got to do it again.
We got to keep living an indestructible life, man.
Yeah, man, that. Whew. So, and a thought that was kind of running through my head a little bit through that, right? Because now I want to kind of move into the next pieces of that. It's like, well, people need to, now we know this story, like we need to be involved to do our part, right? And one of the things that kept moving through my head is like, okay, well, how do you identify who should you actually be working with? Because that story proved, just because they seem like they're the right thing, because you found a resource and sent her to that resource.
Yeah.
And in the end, that didn't work out. Now it's and it really, I think there was good intentions throughout. It just, it kind of something happened in the end where it did end up working out. But like,
and we've connected with some organizations in the last 5 years, let's say, and some where we were like, that was different. Like some things came out or whatever.
Yeah, like maybe when we met them, stuff was cool. 2.5 years later, one of the people that they hire on staff does something out of pocket, or is a dysfunctional human, or is a predator. And all of a sudden now the whole organization gets under fire. It's like, man, we can't just believe and trust that it's all just going to be okay. So we as an organization started going, okay, we've been through this a couple times now. We need wisdom. And I had a friend in the human trafficking space, the counter trafficking space, that was a survivor. And she said, you need better friends. And I said, okay, tell me who they are.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to make the friends that I can. And I want to find good people. And she said, I've got a few. And so anyway, so we just over time giving ourselves permission to say, we're going to work with people, but we are going to be very open-handed about this. And we're not like jumping into some like long-term thing with anybody, because it can happen to anyone. Is like, that's, we're almost like, we're organizational agnostics. Like, we're just like, yeah, man, we just want to raise the money. And if you show up like you're doing a good job, then maybe you'll get it. And if we find out some sketchy stuff about you, we are out. Like, we're not playing. And so that's been cool. But we also have, because of meeting people in the space, we've got some really good advisors. And so they're the ones that have a long history of doing accounting, doing book work, working with these organizations, working with survivor-led and survivor-informed organizations. And so when we get coached by people with more wisdom than us to maybe just make this commitment for this year and just do this, we will trust the outside help that we have. And then sometimes we're just going to do what we feel is the best thing to do. But for Run Against Traffic, because of everything we've gone through, we take it a year at a time. And so it's like, if people show up good and they seem to have their crap together, we are happy to be a part of it. But we are not going to like go down with some horrible shit because we've watched it. Like, we've watched it. So it's like when he says, like, if you build your house on the sand, when it falls, like, great is that fall. And so these people, when they don't build on the right foundation or they've got weird stuff going on, it affects a lot of people. It's a horrible thing to watch happen. And so we're just like, our job is to, I used to say, my job at Run Against Traffic is to run and then try to write checks. And so now it's just like, our job at Run Against Traffic is to raise money and write checks. And our advisors will tell us the best places to send those. And that's what we're going to do. Because, man, it would suck to get like, it just sucks. It's been very disillusioning at times and disappointing to watch good people do. Same thing with church stuff or, scandal or like schism or whatever. You're just like, man, this shouldn't be happening here. What are we doing? But like, it's just kind of a fact of life, I think.
Can we tell who we're currently connected?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I was thinking because we were connected with this organization called Atlas Free International, and they work internationally. They're a grant foundation, and they're kind of like, we're like, okay, that's what we want to be when we grow up, as an organization. They have got a lot of things. They have the ability to get on and do on-site visits and that sort of thing. And they do international work, and it's really beautiful. And we have decided to be focused in the US. Yeah. And so we've been partnering with their US specific aftercare. But a big part of it is just getting getting people involved, getting businesses and commerce involved in the fight and the raising of the funds. And so what we'd like to grow up to be is like to find these and be able to vet and be able to follow through on these organizations and give grants and for the work that we know is happening.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it's kind of fun. Like when I initially started it, we were going to do running. And so I remember saying, I want to do for aftercare in America what Lance Armstrong did with Livestrong. Like I want to build a thing like that that's like kind of community or fitness, or it's got a thing that people can do and it raises a bunch of money. And then in perpetuity, it's just granting money to the good guys. And that was what I thought, And so it's changed because not everybody runs. And so now it's like, well, whatever you do, man, like, let's figure it out. So we just, Holy Name just did a show in Southern California this year in August with Impending Doom and Dynasty and Convictions and Meadows. And it was awesome, but we called it Rock Against Traffic. And we filmed the whole thing. And we just finished all the edits and everything. And so Rock Against Traffic is going to premiere, I believe, January 11th, which is National Human Trafficking Awareness Day on online. And you can buy tickets to watch it online. And that's a charity event. So
stop. Hold on.
Yeah.
Where do we buy
You'll see, dude. I'll send you a link. Don't worry about it, bro. It's all right. I'm just saying right now. But I'm just saying it's like that's
follow Holy Name.
Yeah, follow Holy Name. Check out Rock Against Traffic. Look at, I runagainsttraffic.com. We'll have posts and stuff. But it's like, well, we play music. Well, let's play music and let's just do this for charity. Hey, I'm a tattoo artist. Do that for charity. Like, I'm a barber. Do that for charity. I'm a business owner. Do that for charity. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, make that a part of your business plan. Because giving back is good anyway. But then at the same time, it's like, it's so expensive. Like our US based initiative that we're doing with Atlas Free, essentially 455 people in America. That's who we're trying to help support, various forms of aftercare in America, different states in the country. Some people are living there. Other people just get like health help. Other people get like education help. Some people get job help, like whatever that is in the aftercare bucket that's needed. There's like 500 people that we're trying to help. And so that's a lot. Imagine how much it costs for you to live per month. Now multiply that by 455, right? Like that's every month. Like it's expensive to take care of human beings. And so that's what we're trying to do is like, you need a system or a mechanism that's going to be very successful and create a lot of resource, because I think sometimes it's too expensive for just the church or just the marketplace or just a government to do these kinds of things. But if we all jump in, I think we can make a real impact and it can change people's lives. Like we're two people, and I know that we've had hopefully had a positive impact on people's lives. So if a bunch of us jump in, man, the exponential effect of that, it's, what does the Bible say? 1 puts 1,000, 2 puts 10,000 to flight. It's like, what happens if a bunch of us get involved in this is like, really, really powerful. So for us right now, we partner with Atlas. I like their, I like their work, and I think they do a good job, and I like their accountability, and it just doesn't, I don't feel like I'm getting like, it's not bad. And so I want to partner with the best. And I think that's really cool. So,
and I think the book,
yes, come on,
is it's a
back to the book. What is the book called, Krissi Green?
Many More Like Me. It is available.
Who's the author?
Me.
Okay.
It is available on Amazon.
Yes.
And we're getting all the forms, but really it's meant to be shared. So it's like read it, order it, read it, give it to a friend, buy it for a friend, and then decide how and who you want to impact. Come up with an idea or participate or donate or, whatever it is. Even if you're like, oh my gosh, like I'll do a 5K in my neighborhood, and I will ask my friends and family to throw in $1 for all my training, or whatever, like this dollar amount. And that's because I think it's like getting people, so they go like, what are you doing? And it's like, this is actually an issue. And most people go like, but that doesn't happen in America. And it's like, yeah, it actually does. It's wild. It's wild because in the midst of this, we end up talking to, some of the social workers in the Attorney General's office. And they said, at the time our daughter was in high school, and they said, what high school do you go to? And we told them, they're like, oh, there's 8 open cases right now. And most of it is the familial trafficking. It is family members like pimping out their nieces, their granddaughters, their like, you know, in order to make rent, in order to have, you know, or a boyfriend that is coercing and taking advantage of a girl that he's with. And, you know, it's like, it's crazy that it happens, and it's happening all the time, because as beautiful as the online connection is, it also allows people to connect and abuse people and coerce and mislead people.
Super wild. It was bananas to sit there. I was at like it was like a joint task force meeting that we were talking to all these people, and one of the caseworkers here said, "Tommy, what high school did your daughter go to?" And I said it, and that's what she said. "We have open files for kids at your daughter's high school." And it's a good school. It's a good school. So like people in America need to wake up. Like every city, every state, any municipality, any township, there's a very good chance that familial trafficking or fraud or coercion or sketchy stuff that's right on the edge, it's happening right down the street. It's happening in your town. But people don't think that because they get all the hype and they get the like Hollywood version of it. And it's way grosser and way more normal than people want to deal with. And so that's the part where it's like, we need people in America to know that it's a problem in America. And then as people that are broken and their lives are shattered in America, they need to have places to go. And there's not enough of them. So when those show up, they need help. And so that's what we're trying to get in front of it, because it is a developing solution to a constant problem that is persistent. It's happening right now. And so we need the good guys to show up with the right credentials and the right. We need them. And that's not me. I'm not that smart, and I couldn't handle it. I would die for sure under the weight of it. I can't do that, but I'm happy to do whatever I can to get you the whatever I can do. So that's kind of where we live. We live in this weird space of we'll bear witness. We're going to tell the story. We will do what we can to get resource to these people. And hopefully by the end of our life, we'll have planted a big enough tree that future people can benefit from it. So that's kind of the goal, but we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's so true though. And I love that. You know, it's something that I kind of was through different things around in my area here in the St. Louis region. I've heard some of the stories around here, but like most people around here have no idea, but I live, just 20 miles from Interstate 44, which is one of the biggest sex trafficked highways in the country.
Yeah.
And
Where are you at?
Any clue? St. Louis.
Where?
I'm in the St. Peters area, St. Charles County.
Oh, sick. Okay. I spent my summers in St. John.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My little brothers are born in the Soulard. I used to live there. I'd spent all my summers in downtown, and then we lived in my dad and my stepmom, my little brothers lived in St. John, right by Lambert Air. And that's where I spent all my summers growing up until they moved here to Salt Lake. So anyways, yes, you're totally right. And, anywhere there's poverty, anywhere there's addiction, anywhere there's someone with that has needs, has probably legitimate needs or illegitimate needs, and they don't know what to do. The mechanism of human trafficking is where someone uses force or fraud or coercion to essentially take ownership or some kind of commercial ownership of somebody else. And whether that's forced labor or it's sex trafficking and it's sexual in nature, that stuff's happening in the Lou for sure. Like and it's happening with, and I would say especially for St. Louis, because there's such an interesting makeup there. It's like, there's all these different divided neighborhoods. It's happening in all of them. All of them have it happening, just different faces. And that's what's so interesting is when I say the like lily white Mormon Utah, it's like, no, everywhere. And I went to a farm store to pick up chicken feed for this one because we're urban farmers. I don't know if you know or not. We've got we've got 10 chickens in our little downtown backyard. Anyways, I went to get chicken feed, and there was a table there that was like a suicide prevention, 2 high school kids with a suicide prevention table. And I've been affected by friends and family that have done that. And so I signed a little thing, gave some money, and she said, "I like your shirt." And it was my black Run Against Traffic shirt I was wearing. I said, "Oh, thanks." And she said, "What is that about?" And I said, "Well, my wife and I run a nonprofit, and we try to fundraise for aftercare for human trafficking survivors." And she said, "You will not believe this. There was a young man. He was probably in his early 20s. He was a part of a very interesting family in southern Utah, a polygamist family. And him and like 9 of his boy cousins were trafficked across the state in the middle of the night to go work on some other farm. Like, so it's not just it's like people are being shipped all over the place to do all sorts of stuff. Their freedom is stolen.
Packaged in a crate or something?
Yeah, they were put in basically. It was wild.
Weird.
He was a young kid.
Not like, hey, everybody load up in a van. It was like they packed them. It was very.
They were hit them in a U-Haul and drove them for hours to this other location.
So they didn't know where they were.
Yeah. When
they got out, they just knew that it was they were
So this kid says that to these girls, and then a couple hours later I show up and they tell me the story. So it's so different because it's people being used in ways that they are not supposed to be used. And it's sickening, because this is what I said to the homie Brian. The thing I hate about human trafficking, one of them, is God has put something, or our creator, whatever people want to, whatever. But it's for me, God has made us with this mechanism for life that just continues. We have hope. We just endure so much. And when people take that mechanism of endurance and hope and they turn it in on themselves so that they can make money off of them, and they take their freedom, it's horrific to me. It's such an abuse to the image of God on the inside of people. And so I just hate it. I hate it on every level. So this poor polygamous kid that did that, that's a boy. That's a strapping farm boy. That happened to him, man. Someone did that to him. Or the more vulnerable young kid, or a woman that doesn't have the same strength as someone that overpowers them, or someone without the right documentation, and someone takes advantage of their political or their social status, anything like that. Force, fraud, coercion. It's gross. And it's happening all over the place. And it's happening in the United States for sure. And I want to say that again, because I feel like Americans don't get it yet. So it's it's happening. Any city, every city, it's happening. So,
and I think it's not something that we want to look at.
We don't.
So it's that's one of the things I felt really, I've been a little bit shocked by, because it's when people read the back of the story and it's what it's about, and it's oh no, I can't read that. That's gonna make me sad. And it's it's right, because it's such an overwhelming problem. It's such an overwhelming issue that if we look at it, then we might actually be affected by it. And in that's where Run Against Traffic is trying to make it easy, where it's some people will go bang down doors and do amazing things like that, and others of us need to make dinner and work for our family and give back in a way that we see value and understand the impact of it. And we hope that that's what we create, is so that people can see an impact that they're having, whether it's dollars, whether it's movement, whether it's their business and what they do or how they give. So.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I don't really want to keep going too much more, because I can't make this any better than it already is. It's fantastic. And so it leaves me again. So first and foremost, go find the book on Amazon.
Yeah.
Tommy, hold up that book again.
It's called Many More Like Me. It's by Krissi Green.
It's on Amazon. It's also, there's manymorelikeme.com. We'll get you there as well, and you can learn how to get to Run Against Traffic.
I run against traffic.com.
Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted next, because I want to make sure we have an opportunity to know where to find you guys to support what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
because
sure. Oh yeah, check out Atlas Free, ATLAS, Atlas Free. If Mary works for the Exodus Road, there's amazing organizations. If you have a favorite organization, just commit 2025 to support someone. Please support someone. If you don't already have an organization that you're committed to and that you feel connected to, please consider us. But no, there's a bunch of really good people out there. If you have questions, hit us up. Hey, what about these guys? We have some watchdog people in our world. So if you have heard of an organization but you don't know, we're happy to go hey, everything we hear is they're doing great work, or maybe consider someone else. And I hate to do that, but I'd rather people feel do the right thing. So anyways, anything we can do to help you guys. We want you to be a part of the solution. Give if you can. Give to Run Against Traffic. Give to Atlas Free. Give to a good one. That's awesome.
The way I see it is, now you have a responsibility. Yeah. That's it. Because it's important, and like I already said, look, the smallest thing can have the biggest impact. So even if you're just listening, like I don't have the capacity to go out and do something crazy, you have the capacity to give just a little bit and be that little small thing that has a big impact. So
it's so true.
Man,
it's so true.
That's all there is to it. I want to say thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's been an amazing episode, and just for those that are curious, I know you probably saw Tommy's name on this, like, oh, I'm gonna hear, but no, there's gonna be a Holy Name episode coming. So they both things deserved their time, and I want to give each one the appropriate time. So that's why we're breaking this up. So we're going to come back with Tommy here in the future, but I wanted to get a time to just share this story. So
thanks so much, man. Thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week. Thank you to Mac for the use of the song Won't He Do It for our opening and our outro. With that being said, have a great night, guys.
Won't it do it? Yeah, he brought me through it all. Hail to the glory, all hail to the glory. I don't want no drama, I don't want no hate. I'm just trying to make sure all my people straight. I'm just trying to give you everything I am. I'm just trying to give you